Stitch Cuties, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and in this video tutorial, we are going to make the Boo Bat rug together. Let me hold it up so you can see. Is that not the cutest thing? So for those of you that are a member of the club, you already know this, but if you're checking out this video and you're not yet a member of the club, this is called the Quilts on the Floor Club, and they are rugs that measure 18 inches by 30 inches, and they're made of slub canvas, which is a very durable canvas, which allows for you to easily sew it, yet it's durable enough for you to walk on in your home. So this is the design that ships on August 1st every year. And the reason we ship it out in August, even though it's a Halloween design, is so you have plenty of time to make it before actually Halloween rolls around. So this is the August 1st design, or box 8 out of 12. So no matter when you join, you're going to get all 12 boxes. They ship with the month. And oh my gosh, they're so much fun to make. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build your little bat as an applique unit. We're going to put it on our background fabric. We're going to iron on our boot. I'm going to give you a few stitch tips. And then honestly, you're almost done with your Quilts on the Floor rug by then. So I'm going to set this aside. I do want to let you know, when you're using the rug on the floor, you want to have a rug pad underneath it so it doesn't slip inside. I like to use, this is still a knit strapper. I keep this as a sample. It almost looks like a, you know, like liner you would put in a cabinet or a drawer. It's just rubber. It goes right underneath the rug and holds it in place. You can use any kind of rug pad that prevents slippage, right? So there's a variety of rug pads available. This one was under $10 and I got it off Amazon. So super easy. I use the same rug pad every month. I change out my rug in the spot and I use the same rug pad. You can have multiple rug pads, one for each if you want. That's up to you, but I do recommend putting a rug pad of some sort underneath your rug so it doesn't slip inside. By the way, I recommend that with all of your rugs, not just your Quilts on the Floor rug. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to add a second camera and we're going to unbox the box together. So fun. There we go. So this is a cute box that comes every month. Look at that. Adorable, adorable. And it has all kinds of goodies inside. So I truly just took this out of our shipping room. This is exactly what you would get. So I'm going to break the tape. There we go. We made it especially for you by Stitches of Love, and that's true. Everything is cut and packaged and printed and all that good stuff and designed here at our office. So when you open it up, we have a reminder to use a rug pad. On the back of that is a reminder about your threads. So you're going to use a 30 weight cotton thread in your needle. You're going to use a matching 50 weight cotton thread in your bobbin. And then the size needle is a 90-14, just a standard universal needle 90-14. And we use, I'll go on and show you the threads. We use the ecru when we're doing the quilting, and we use black for the applique on all of them. You don't have to worry about having a ton of threads. You just need these two little thread sets. Now the black, you'll have enough for the entire year, all 12 designs you should be able to applique with these two spools. The quilting, you may end up buying a second set of the quilting, just depending on what stitch you use when you're quilting, how close you do your quilting, etc. And we'll talk about quilting towards the end. And then, of course, how to care for your rug. Plop them in the washing machine and then let them air dry. You can iron it as needed. I will be honest with you, I've put mine in the dryer. It's been fine. I don't have time to air dry at my house. Plop it in the dryer. It's totally, totally fine. I will say I have newer washing machine and newer dryer. So when I put it in, it's not as like crazy tossed around as say an older machine that still has that center jobby thing in the center. So take that into account. You know your washing machine, you're fine. Of course, how to contact us. You can always go to our website, click on support. We have frequently asked questions there. And of course, you can submit a ticket and get right to us. You can always email us orders@stitchesoflovequilting.com. That's where this takes you. And then thank you, a little thank you from us to you. Okay, so now let's get into it. This is so fun. I hate to rip the tissue because it's so pretty. I love how everybody puts it together. But we got to do it. So just do it. Rip right in. That's really fun. Okay, so you have your pattern. So you get a nice picture on the front. You can see the rug really nicely. And then we have step-by-step instructions that you and I are going to follow together. First up, we have our cutting. Well, of course, contents of your box, check that. we're gonna cut, we're gonna do our applique, and then we're going to quilt. So I'll give you some tips on that. And this gives you a list of everything included. Karen used instructions because we had a lot of words to say in this particular pattern. There's a reminder that the Karen use is on the back. So we have our full-size placement guide. We're going to use that when we're building our applique units in a moment. They're all these pages long, 4 pages long. And then we have all of our prefused laser cut applique pieces. Yes, we have cut the slub canvas for you. It's already prefused. Love it. So this is going to be a breeze in a minute when we start putting our pieces together and building a unit. Oh, our candy. I love the candy gets tossed around, so you never know when you're going to find it in the box. These are my favorites. They're an after dinner mint. And when I was a kid, I loved getting an after dinner mint. Oh my God, so fancy in my head. So you have your black fabric, which is your binding. You have your white fabric, which is the back of your rug this month. And then you have the super fun stripe, which is the background. And we will use all of that as the time comes. So you have 3 pieces of fabric every month. You get either like 1 giant piece because the background, the backing, and the binding are the same color. Some months you're gonna have 3 pieces. Some months there's 2 colors. So it's just fun. Every month is a surprise when you open it. So yay. Okay, we're gonna toss the box. Keep it though, it's so cute, right? Okay, unless it got dirty in shipping, that happens. Okay, so what are we gonna do first? Let's read our pattern. So the first thing we're gonna do, we kind of reviewed everything in the box. We know we have everything. So now the first thing we're gonna do is iron and trim our fabric. Now I'm gonna talk about this because we tell you to trim it down to 31 by 19. You really, if you don't want to, you don't have to trim it yet. You can just use it the size it came and just take that into account because we cut it nice and straight for you. So you can use this and just trim it. So if you want to bypass the cutting on the orange and white, you can. I'm going to, because why not? I'm going to set that right there. And then this, you would go on and iron your backing. This is the back of your thing. You would go on and iron and trim that. And then this is your binding. So we give you a big old width of fabric. Look how nice the team cut this. That's beautiful. And so you just want to make sure before you cut it, where's the selvage? There it is. When you cut this, make sure your selvage is nice and straight and line it up. Let me show you. You want to have selvage to fold really nice. And then you can do your good trims to the 3 inches and 3 inches, and you'll have extra, of course, left over. So that's your binding that you'll prep. And then you will need to prep your batting. Oh, I don't have my batting in here right now. You can take a look back at the tutorial for box 7, and which is the Oh Hello rug, and you can see I show the batting. But all you need to do to prep your batting, if you buy the lap size from us, I think it's lap size, it's 60 inches squared. So easy to prep it. You get 6 battings for 6 rugs out of 1 pack. So you just need 2 packs of that batting for the entire time. And you simply cut it in half. So you have 2 strips that are 30 inches and 30 inches. Turn it sideways, subcut that down to the 18, 18, and 18. So you'll get 6 pieces total. That's not included in your kit, but we have that available for you. So first up, we are going to start working on our applique. So let's open up our applique pieces. And we're going to start prepping that. And then I am going to want my placement guide. So we're going to go on and prep our placement guide. They're stapled together. Just pop it. I'm not going to use the boo just yet. I'm going to set that aside. Oh, I'm putting it behind me so I can reach it. It's really bad. I just have thrown several of my pieces on the floor, and when I have to get it, I'm going to have to get on the floor. Okay, there we go. So we are going to tape the 2 pieces together that make us have a full bat. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do that first because I want to be able to number my applique pieces as I go. And I have my handy dandy tape. This is just regular tape. Nothing special about it. And we're going to simply, if you want to turn your light pad on, we're going to simply line this up. Now in just a second, I'll talk to you about building an applique unit. But before we do that, I'm going to talk to you about the tools I use for that. And that is what I call my perfect stack. So if you can see underneath to the side, we have a light pad, then I have a glass mat, and then I have my fusing mat. That is my perfect stack. Now for the rugs, not every month will it be necessary to build an applique unit. Sometimes it's easier just to plop it down on the fabric. Like when we did the Oh Hello, if you look back at number 7 video, then you'll see that it didn't make sense to build an applique unit. It just made sense to put it right on the background fabric. When it comes to this little bat, it's gonna be easy for me to just go on and build this whole bat as one unit. And then I'm gonna put that on my background fabric and iron it in place. And then we'll put the boo in place. One thing you'll notice on this placement guide is we give you measurements that will help guide when you're trimming your rug at the end, when you trim it down to that 18 by 30 inches. So you'll know that this is 3 3/4 from the edge. We give you little notes about how far up he is from the bottom. So 3 1/2 on this side, 1 1/4 on this side, and that follows around with the boo letters as well. So I have this out because I want to number my applique pieces and prep those like it says in the pattern. So I am going to get my handy dandy pen, and then, oh, I really wish I had a Sharpie right now, but I don't have one in here. I like to use the thin Sharpies to write on the back of my applique pieces. To me, that writes on it the best. The paper's like a little slicky, and so not every pen will like write on it very well. So let's cross your fingers the friction pen works on the paper. Friction pen is great to use on the fabric. When I mark my quilting lines, I use my friction pen. However, that might not be the best to write on my applique pieces. Okay, so what I'm doing, all my pieces are cut, right? You can see I'm just doing little snips to free them. I am using my Karen K. Buckley scissors. This is the medium size. Love, 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 love these scissors. They're serrated, sharp all the way to the point. Oh my God, I can't get enough of them. Now on the white, you might be like, why are there so many eyeballs? Well, there are so many eyeballs because we're double lining them so that they show as white as possible. And we don't want to have the black of the bat showing through behind it. Is this not a fun fabric? Oh my gosh, can you see in the camera how fun that is? I forgot what the name of this print is. I love it. So all of these fabrics, by the way, so as I mentioned, they're slub canvas fabrics. They're all printed, designed, printed, manufactured, all that good stuff in the United States. I love it. The company is called Premier Prints. And oh gosh, I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're in Mississippi. If I have that wrong, I apologize. They ship to us really, really fast. But yeah, this is actually fabric that you could use, like the slub canvas, you could use in upholstery, inside or outside. I love it. So it's actually the primary focus of this business. Their fabrics are upholstery fabrics. So that's really cool. So this is super durable. I wouldn't put your rug outside. This is designed for indoor use, just to let you know. Now inside this little cutout of the O, there's 2 more dots. That's the center of the eyes. If this was a quilt, we'd probably use buttons there. But you don't really want buttons on your rug, do you? That'd be weird. And then one more little bit. And then we have another black circle here. Why do we have the circle? I don't remember. We'll figure it out. What do we have that circle for? Oh, the exclamation point. I was like, why do we have that? The exclamation point. So do use all your pieces. Don't throw anything away. Oh, there we go. The exclamation point. Minor detail. We need that. So you can see I'm just snipping the little pieces free. And then the body and the wing is already free. So let's look at numbering these to make our life easy. And my friction pin. There we go. I always want to click it at the end. That's not where you click it. You go like this. That's just my helpful tip in case you're like me and you're like, what? So I'm going to turn that light off for now while we number. So I'm just going to simply take my placement guide. We have our 2 insides. So we know that this is the one on the left. It's number 2. See, the friction pin isn't the best thing to write with. This is number 4. In terms of writing on the paper, this is great for writing on fabric. Then we have our wings on the left and right. So this is number 1. And this is number 3. I'm going to put them in numerical order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is the big body. I know that. I can handle remembering that without labeling it. And then, so I'm going to set that little pile aside. Then we have number 6 and 7. That's our 2 teeth. So let me show you what I'm doing. I know you can't see my placement guide. All I'm doing is just simply putting the piece on top of where it'll go, and I'm numbering the number. So this is number 7, and this is number 6. Always put a line underneath the 6 so you don't forget and think it's a 9. So then we have 6, 7, and now for our eyes, we have 8. We have 2 of them. 9. I'm just going to put them in order. Then we have the 2 center eyes that are 10 and 11. Then we have 12 and 13 are the bows. I just like to organize all my pieces before I start. Don't you think that makes the most sense? I do. So 12, 13, and then the rest of them are the boo letters. I'm not going to number boo because I think I can spell boo. Okay, so now we are going to turn our light pad on. And again, let me show you the perfect stack a little better before I start. I need more space. If you're at home, like I'm working on a small table to film, I recommend having like your ironing board as like a work surface, or to be like if you have a work table or a cutting table by your ironing board, I think that's the best setup. Have your perfect stack on a solid table like your cutting table or something like that, and or your work table if you have like an island or something you work at. I have an island that I like to work at home. And then have your ironing board right beside you because you're going to want to have like a big ironing space. I'm going to be ironing in a little space. Okay, so my perfect stack, let me scooch this where you can see the side. Whoop, scooch it a lot. So underneath here, this is my Caterpillar light pad, see? And it has 3 levels. I love it. I like to use it on the brightest, like why not? Then on top of that, the perfect size is the glass mat that goes on top from Caterpillar. And then I have my fusing mat. So let me center this back over. There we go. And what you do, so you have your light pad, glass mat, and then you're going to put your big old guide, your placement guide. And then on top of your placement guide is your fusing mat. And the only places we're going to fuse are where they overlap. So I'm not going to iron all the way down here, all the way over. I'm just trying to connect it into a unit so I can get it onto my background fabric. And then with the boo letters, we're going to place those right on the background fabric. Okay, so remember, I have them laid out in order. So now I don't have to think again. Is this beautiful or what? So, excuse me. We're going to take piece number 1, peel the white paper backing, and we're just going to put it right in place on our placement guide. And then we're going to put piece number 2. Now, you're not going to be able to see through your black fabric. There is no light pad that lets you see through slub canvas. So you're going to just like kind of lift up and pull back and see it's got about like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. You just center it and it lines up perfectly on the edge. See? And so now I am going to give this a little tap just right here. Not too long. See, it just like barely, what was that, a couple seconds? I just want it to hold for a second. Then I'm going to do the right wings, which is number 3 and 4. And put this right in place. And then number 4 right on top. Again, just lift up and give yourself an idea of where it goes. You're not going to be able to see through the black fabric, but what can you do? Okay, so that's lightly held together. Now we're going to do number 5. This is our big body of our bat. And put it in place. There we go. And where we're going to touch right here is where it overlaps. And we're going to touch right here where it overlaps. Now we're going to, I'm going to fold that so I can see my pieces. We're going to do our teeth. And you'll notice that there's a little smile. If you want to mark that, you can use a sew line chalk pencil. How did I not bring that in here? But you can freehand that before we sew. So when we get over to the sewing machine, I'll show you that. I can't believe I don't have my sew line chalk pencil with me. How did I do that? Okay, so what I'm doing, can you see where I'm lifting up? Let me scooch up. I am lifting up, I'm holding my nail at the bottom of the tooth. And we know it's gonna be an angle of a smile, right? And it's curved at the top. There we go. And I'm gonna do the same thing with my little tooth over here. Just lift up, put my nail at the bottom. And you can see I'm gonna follow a little curve. So that feels like a good angle. And we're gonna put it right in place. Now we have our eyeballs. So the two little guys are on the left. I'm gonna gently pull up to about where he goes. They're gonna go right there. And then our two number 9s are gonna go right beside it. So just eyeball it. Use your hand to kind of mark where it goes underneath. But again, this doesn't have to be like crazy precise. You're not making like a show quilt to put in a contest. This is gonna be so fun to have in your house. I think this might be one of my favorite things I've sewn in a really long time. Like I love everything that we make and I have so much fun doing it, but this is so different, right? Like I'm not making just a quilt. This is something that right away every month I can put out in my house. It's kind of like, remember we used to have the Mugger Club if you've been with us for a while? That was so much fun because every month you had a surprise project. You had no idea what the design was going to be. And it was so much fun to stitch. I loved it. This is kind of the same thing. It's like a mug rug, but giant. I love it. So we have our two little eyeballs. Plop. I'm gonna hold that there for a second. And remember, there's 2 of each eyeball, so it's double lined. I just put all of them in place at one time and ironed. Now we have the centers of our eyeballs. Here's where you can have fun. You can do it how we did it on the front, or you can be like silly and have your guy be like, wah. You know what I mean? Let's see what it looks like on the cover. How do we have him? Mom has him be like normal. That's how Julie, I say mom, she's my mom. That's how Julie designed it. Just kind of like a little normal guy. I don't know. At my house, we're silly. So I'm going to have him be like, I'm going to make him a little wonky-eyed. Do your eyeballs like the pattern or however you want. You can center them however you want your little guy to have a personality. Or I guess she's a gal. She has a fun bow in her hair. So now, speaking of bows, we're going to build the bow right here. And you can see the top of the bow right there. And then we have the center that goes just like so. So how easy is this, right? We've like built our whole little bat in just a few minutes. So now we are going to gently pull this off our fusing mat. And look at that. We have a unit. Look at our bat. So I'm going to gently set this aside. I'm making a mess, y'all. I do not have my trash can next to me, and I'm just throwing stuff on the floor. I'm going to have a cleanup after the video. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I need my boo letters. I'm going to make some space for myself, and I'm going to want a ruler. Get my tape out of the way. So I'm just going to grab a ruler, because what I'm going to do now is get my background fabric. I don't need my light pad anymore. You don't really need your perfect stack anymore, because now we're going straight to the background fabric. And we're going to use our placement guide as a guide. Let me get the 2 pieces. This is where your placement guide is going to get huge because it's the real size. I like having it the real size. And so we are going to tape. Can you see? Yeah, we're taping together. Just line it up and line your center line up. And your center line there. And get your letters there. Alrighty, so now I'm going to do a little tape action. Put my tape on it to hold it in place. And again, I'm not really going to put my pieces on top of my placement guide. I'm reading it really for the measurements. Okay, so now, and again, you have more space in your sewing room, I hope, than I do filming. This is getting awkward. I'm laying it to the side. Now, sorry to dip down. Here's my background fabric. Okay, I'm going to move my light pad and everything because I want a flat surface. Have an ironing surface with you, like your Steady Betty and such. And so I want to make sure that I have my center line marked. because that is a nice guide for us. See, our little wing is just a little bit over that center line. Now remember, I did not trim my background fabric down. If you followed the pattern and trimmed yours down to the 19 by 31, you're just gonna make sure that you have enough space on top, bottom, left, and right to trim everything. I'm gonna treat the bottom left corner of this as my like set where I'm not gonna trim, right? Like that's gonna be my 90-degree angle, if you will. So you're gonna wanna make sure that's nice and straight. And then you wanna make sure, of course, that your stripe is going nice and straight as well. So I'm gonna open this guy up. And again, you have more space. There we go. So you can see I have my fold. Right there is marking my center. So I'm gonna take my bat. I'm gonna plop him. And let's look at our placement guide. Take a look at your placement guide. So from the left, we need 3 3/4 inches from the second point on our little bat. So let me move over and show you where I'm measuring. I want to make sure I have at least 3 3/4 from the edge. And I totally do. I have plenty to trim. And then let's see, from the bottom, I need 3 1/2 from this side of this guy. 1, 2, 3. I have more than enough here. So I have room to trim. Now we're gonna start working on Boo, and we need to make sure we have enough room to trim on this guy too. So we're gonna scooch over, and I'm not gonna iron him just yet, because again, I wanna place Boo. Nope. Move my friction pin. Okay. And so with my placement guide, big old guy, let's look at what we're looking at. So with Boo, I love this measurement. From the trim line up, our dot on our exclamation is 7 1/2 inches. I wish I would have given us the measurement here. Why didn't I do that? We can do it manually. So it is like 7 1/4 over. Not bad. So I'm gonna do that little measurement. So we're going 7 1/2, 7 1/2 from the bottom. We want to have at least that. And then we want 7 1/4 here. So there we go. Look at that exact science. Oh my gosh, you can't see my dot. There's my dot. So it's about 7 1/4 over. Let me show you. Bloop. See, give or take. You know, it doesn't have to be exact. Now we have our exclamation. It's 2 3/4 from the trim line. So I just need to make sure I have at least 2 3/4 over. And again, my piece is oversized because I'd never trimmed it, right? So let's make sure we have 2 3/4. I have more than 2 3/4. So I have plenty of space to trim. So I know now that I'm working in the right way. And our top B is 2 1/4 from the top. Boop. Okay, so now let's move that. Get my letters. Boo. So let's get these in place. How fun is this? Also, you can be as creative as you want. Like if you want to have it go kind of straight, you can. If you don't want it straight, you don't have to. Boo. All right. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Boo. I want it angled. There we go. This is my Boo. Everybody can have their own Boo. Okay, so now you should have your ironing board or your Steady Betty under this. I don't. I'm going to iron it right on. There we go. So iron everything in place. And now we're going to go stitch everything. So let me go to the full screen and I'll talk about what we're going to do. Hello, I'm back. We are going to now go to the sewing machine and we're going to do the applique. I'm going to just show you like one letter and I'll show like around one bat wing or something, or maybe around the eyes where you can see the stitching. If this is your first month doing it, then let me just explain a little bit. You're going to do just a basic straight stitch. You're going to go like 1/8 of an inch in from the edge of all of your pieces. And you're just tracing twice around each piece. So you're gonna do the inside of the O, the center of the O, and the outside of the O. Make sure on the B you do the inside cutouts and then the outside. And then on your bat, just trace the outline of everything. And you're gonna use black thread for all of your appliques. So you are doing a universal 90-14 needle on the machine. You're gonna use a 30 weight thread in the bobbin. Oh my gosh, no you're not. You're gonna use a 30 weight thread in your needle, and you're gonna use a 50 weight thread in your bobbin. So you're putting that thicker thread on top because that's what's on top that gets walked on. And so it's durable. It also gives you a really beautiful look, especially when you go over twice. And you'll see when we're stitching, we're not trying to be precise and stitch over the exact same line. In fact, Julie, a lot of times, or a long time ago when she would do this stitch on things, she called it a scribble stitch. And I think that's the perfect name for it because you're just sort of scribbling. You don't want a perfect line around every piece. You want it to be kind of scribbled. So it's really beginner friendly and really easy to do. So the next angle that you see on the camera is going to be me at a sewing machine, and we're going to sew just a few letters, and it's really fun. Okay, so now we're at the sewing machine, and how I like to stitch is I follow the placement guide numbers, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I stitch in that order. It doesn't really matter what order you stitch in because, well, it just doesn't matter that much, but I like to do it that way. I'm kind of orderly in that way. So I'm going to start over here at 1, and where you start is right up against where the two pieces meet, and you're going to go about 1/8 of an inch in all the way. So I have an open toe foot on my machine. I have my stitch set to 2.4 in length, so nothing too short. I did one quick little line of it stitched. You can see just really a standard straight stitch. And I have my needle right in the center of my foot. I like the open toe foot so I can see. And I do not have my, whatchamacallit, I don't have it set to a very high speed. I know you can't see my speed control. So what I just did is put my needle down. I like to have it where I know my needle is going to be where it's going to be. And then I'm gonna hit start. And I use the buttons to start and stop. I cannot for the life of me. Oh, look, I came unthreaded. Of course I did. I cannot for the life of me, let me just rethread, use a foot pedal. I am a push button girl. Either way you like to do it, just make sure you know how to like feel comfortable with your stitch. There we go, back in place. Okay, so now, as you can see, I'm just going right inside. And if you feel you're getting off your line, don't be afraid to just hit stop and like reposition, right? So I have it like kind of rolled up. There's a lot of fabric, right? And so you can just lift your foot and pivot if you need to. And we're not gonna go all the way to the point. We're stopping like, let me do one more stitch. Bloop. And now lift your foot and we are going to pivot. Bloop, 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 bloop. Can you see my stitch? It's hard to see the black on it, but you'll see it in a second. I'll do a little bit more of the wing, and then I'll show you on the white. And again, anytime your direction is changing, like on a curve, pivot. To me, pivoting is a lot better than pulling on the fabric. And it doesn't matter if you get a little closer to the edge in some places, like there's no quilt police. And remember, we're gonna go around this twice, and it's meant to be scrappy and scribbly and so fun. So let's see if you can, here, I'll zoom in over there. If you can see my stitching so far. See, it's not a perfectly straight line. And when you go back over it, it needs to be scribbly. So actually, instead of going all the way around this, I'm gonna turn back and go back over it and show you what it ends up looking like. So let me scooch my camera out a little. There you go. And let's, instead of keeping on going, I'm gonna go back. Now you would finish the whole line. But again, I don't wanna make you watch 20 minutes of, I had to put my presser foot down, of me stitching. So again, I'm not trying to go over the same line. I'm just kind of meandering by it. Pivot. if you watch Friends, or if you watched Friends back in the day, there's that couch episode where they're like, pivot, pivot. And it cracks me up. It's a funny episode. So every time I stitch, I think of the couch moving episode where they're like, pivot, pivot. Okay, so let me zoom in right there on that line. See, not perfectly over each other. You're getting that scrappy look. Oh, presser foot. There's a way I can make my machine where the presser foot automatically goes down. And I forgot what button I pushed to make it not do that. And so, yeah, it's a sitch. I'll get Julie in here and she'll push the right button and make my life easy again. There we go. And then cut. Okay, let's take a look. See, not perfectly over each other. Let's do a tooth. You want to do a tooth or an eye? I want to do a tooth. Let's do a little tooth right here. So I'm just going to put my needle down, see if I like where I am. I do, that works. All right. And again, I'm going to pivot around this curve quite a bit. Roll my fabric so it goes with me. Oh, I just remembered how to make my presser foot go up and down, you guys. It's a button. So I don't know if you know this. When you're filming, your brain loses about 50% of its function. This is my theory, at least. So when I'm filming, I'm like, oh my gosh, where's my brain gone? See, pressure. Oh my gosh, Brittany Allison. That's what my mom says when I'm in trouble. Brittany Allison. Doesn't happen much. I'm old now. Okay, we're going almost to the point. There we go. And now, press her foot up. Look at that magic button I pushed. There we go. Look at all this. You're going to have to just fold your fabric up and have it wiggle with you as you go. That's just part of the thing. I actually feel like, if you can see my hand coming in, I'm like gripping the fabric. I kind of use it to spin with me, honestly. It kind of gives you a nice handle to just like have a little rolled edge. Let me zoom out so you can see. I give myself like little rolled edges to hold on to. There we go. Look, my presser foot's behaving. Okay, look, I'm just wiggling around that line. And now, coming back down. This line's like really straight. I want to wiggle it a little. Let's get wiggly. See, I'm doing that on purpose because that's how I want it to look. Now we're going to pivot. Pivot. Oh my gosh, I'm really liking how the tooth is turning out. You guys are going to get to see it close in just a second. I love it. This is so fun. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Boom. Okay, I'll zoom in. Give me just a second. Give me just a second. Okay, there's my little toothsers. Oh my gosh. So cute. That's all you want. You just want scribble, scrabble. That's all it needs to be. Scribble, scrabbles. So fun. So just continue. Again, how I would stitch this if I wasn't on camera, I would go all the way around one, and then I'd go back around one my second time. Then I'd do number two. I would jump over here. Boop. And I would go all the way around number three, all the way around number four. Then I'd do my body of my bat. And then I would come in and do the teeth and the eyes and the bow. And then last but not least, I would go around my boo letters. So easy, so fun. So I'm going to keep stitching. And then after that, we will be back to talk about quilting. Okay, so now you've stitched everything. Let me show you what I have. All stitched, and it's ready to quilt now. So first off, you're going to give it a nice good iron, because if you're like me, underneath the sewing machine, I had it balled up and things like that. So you're going to give it a good press. Then you are going to trim it to the 19 by 31 if you didn't already start off with the piece trimmed. Remember, I just used the piece as it came in the box. If you've already trimmed yours, then it's ready to go for quilting. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to want to trim your white piece, the backing. This is also a slip canvas. You want to trim that to 19 by 31. The reason you want to have it trimmed to 19 by 31 right now is because when you go to quilting, you don't need to quilt all the extra fabric. There's no need to waste time quilting a bigger piece than you need. So 19 by 31 for the background and backing, and then your binding, or I'm sorry, your batting piece in the center is going to be the 18 by 30. So when you sandwich the top, middle, and back, you want to make sure that you have that batting in place where you're going to ultimately trim. You don't want to go on and do the 18 by 30 just yet for the top and bottom until after you quilt it, because when you quilt it, it does kind of squish up just a hair. So my recommendation for when you're quilting, I like to take a nice long ruler. This is my 24-inch ruler, and I go right down the center and I mark my center line with a friction pin. And then there's two ways you can quilt. You can either use the width of your foot as a guide for your lines, or if you want to do not as many lines, you can go on a mark like every inch and a half. I wouldn't go wider than 2 inches though, because you do want to make sure that this is nice and durable on the floor. I like an inch and a half. Inch and a half really is pretty good. Like if you think about an inch and a half, that's a pretty decent spacing between quilting. So I personally like to mark all of my lines with the friction pin before I go to my sewing machine to quilt it. That's a personal preference. If you're comfortable marking just one line and going from there, you can. I am doing vertical lines, by the way, top to bottom of the rug. You can do it side to side. You can do a crosshatch. You can do any kind of way you want to quilt it. If you have a long arm, you can put it on the long arm. And again, what I use to quilt with is you're going to use this on every single rug in the club. It is the ecru color, and you're going to use the 30 weight in the needle and the 50 weight in the bobbin, and the same needle you use for the applique, the 9014 universal needle. It is a breeze to quilt. My recommendation though, when you're picking your quilting stitch, I like to do either a straight stitch, like just straight, or my machine has a decorative, like slight wiggle of a stitch is what you see on all of the quilting, on all of the samples. So you can see that stitch really nicely on your pattern cover. And the reason that I like that stitch is that it gives it a little like pizzazz, but it also doesn't take a long time. So when you're picking out your decorative stitch, if you want to use a decorative stitch for the quilting, be cognizant of how long it might take, because the size of the rug gets really big when you're doing like a million lines back and forth. So pick kind of a simpler quilting stitch, if you will. That's my recommendation. Go crazy though. You can do whatever you want, but I like to do something a little simple. I don't want to be there forever just quilting. And then when it comes to the binding, you have your black fabric. You're just going to do 2 strips at 3 inches. Sew those together, fold them in half, and attach it like you would normal binding. And we recommend that you finish it off by machine when you fold it back and then stitch in the ditch, instead of doing by hand, because you don't want to by hand go through the canvas fabric. That would not be friendly to your fingers or your needles. So definitely finish off your binding by machine. And again, care and use instructions are on the back. Pop it in the washing machine. You can air dry it. Again, I do put mine in the dryer, but technically we shouldn't recommend that you do, but I do. So I hope that that has been helpful. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I use basting spray to connect, to sandwich my batting between the front and back. If you want to kind of in-depth look at how I did that, if you go back to the Quilts on the Floor 7 video, which is for Oh Hello, I do a really in-depth about how I sandwich those together. It's a piece of cake. Again, just think of this rug as like a small mug rug, but bigger. It's a piece of cake to make. And it's so much fun. I can't wait. So I always, when I'm doing the tutorials, when I did with the last one too, I get it to this point and then I'm going to take it home and finish quilting it tonight. I personally cannot wait for Halloween. I love decorating for Halloween. It is so much fun. Oh my gosh, I just love it. So this is definitely going to be in my house, front and center for everyone. And actually, don't tell anybody, but I might grab a second kit and make a second one, because I kind of want one right inside the front door for guests, but then I also want one at the back door, which is like the main door we use into our house from our driveway. So I might actually make 2 because it's so fun. And I know there's several of you that are making 2 every month because you're making it for your house and then you're making it as a gift for like grandkids or family in another house or something like that. But oh my gosh, so much fun. I hope the tutorial was helpful. Again, I know that you'll be not in a filming studio. You will be in a lovely sewing room with all the space you need. So it'll be delightfully easy for you. But I mean, come on, look at this. Is she not the cutest? Remember when I placed my eyeballs, I didn't do like the pattern. I did them like wonky-eyed. And I think it's hilarious. I love how she looks. Look at that. Betty McBatterson. That's what I just named her. So cute. Okay, happy stitching, everybody. Enjoy making your rug. The next rug that we are making will be, dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's for Thanksgiving. It's the Scarecrow. Oh my gosh, he probably has more pieces than any of the other rugs in the series, but it's so worth it. He's so fun. And don't worry, we're going to break him up into applique units, and that's really going to be a tutorial where if you haven't made applique units yet, you'll love that tutorial because applique units are your best friend when you're working with like a really large project. Okay, go make your boo bat, have fun, and as always, happy stitching.